They say that the scariest things in life don't always hide in the dark, they hide in silence, in the spaces where people are too afraid to tell the truth. That night, when I walked into the small apartment and heard her trembling whisper, "Don't turn on the lights," I didn't know if I was stepping into a nightmare, or into the moment that would change both of our lives forever. And if you stay with me until the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes the most fragile voices, the ones that beg us not to look too closely, are the ones that need us to see them the most. Daniel had gotten used to living in half-light. As a single dad raising 7-year-old Emma, his life was full of early mornings, late nights, and a constant juggling act between working extra shifts at the garage and being both father and mother to his daughter. He carried a quiet sadness, though he rarely showed it. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him with only memories, unpaid bills, and a little girl who needed him more than air itself. One evening, after picking Emma up from her after-school program, Daniel was asked by a teacher if he could help carry some supplies to one of the newer teachers' apartments. The teacher, Miss Claire, had recently moved into town, quiet and reserved. The other staff whispered about her, she was kind, but withdrawn, almost as if she was afraid of being noticed. Emma adored her though. She would talk about how Miss Claire read stories with so much feeling that the words seemed alive. Daniel agreed to help carry a few boxes, and Emma tagged along, bouncing at his side. When they reached the apartment, Claire looked startled, as if she hadn't expected anyone to actually follow through. She smiled politely, but her eyes darted nervously. Daniel carried the boxes inside, and as his eyes adjusted to the dimness, he realized the apartment was almost entirely dark. Only a small lamp in the corner cast a faint glow. Emma, curious as always, skipped toward the switch on the wall, but before she could touch it, Claire's voice cut through the silence, sharp, trembling. "Don't turn on the lights." The words froze the room. Emma paused, her hand still hovering near the switch. Daniel looked at Claire, whose face was shadowed, her hands clasped together as if she were holding herself steady. I just prefer it this way," she whispered, quickly forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Daniel didn't press. He helped her arrange the boxes, but something gnawed at him. He noticed the way she moved carefully, avoiding the brighter parts of the room, as if hiding her face. He saw how Emma tilted her head, confused but quiet, sensing the unspoken heaviness. On the way home, Emma asked softly, "Daddy, why doesn't Miss Claire like the light?" Daniel didn't have an answer. But he couldn't shake the sound of that whisper, it wasn't just a preference. It was fear. The days went on, but Daniel found himself noticing little things whenever he dropped Emma off at school. Claire wore long sleeves even in warm weather. She turned her face slightly when speaking to others. She smiled, yes, but it was the kind of smile that seemed rehearsed, meant to convince people she was fine. One evening, when Emma begged to stop by and give Miss Claire a drawing she had made, Daniel reluctantly agreed. They knocked on her door, and after a long pause, she opened it. Again, the apartment was dimly lit. Emma handed her the drawing of a bright yellow sun, and Claire's eyes shimmered as she whispered, "It's beautiful." "Thank you, sweetheart." As Emma wandered toward the little bookshelf by the corner, Daniel noticed the sleeve of Claire's sweater slip just a little, revealing a deep bruise across her wrist. Her breath caught, and she quickly pulled the fabric down, avoiding his gaze. This time, Daniel couldn't stay silent. "Claire," he said gently, "you don't have to tell me everything. But, you don't have to hide, either." Her eyes welled up instantly, though she shook her head. "Please, don't turn on the lights. Don't make me show you what I can't face myself." The pain in her voice was raw. And in that moment, Daniel understood, this wasn't about preference. It was about scars. Visible ones, and the invisible ones that cut even deeper. Slowly, Claire began to trust him. Over the next few weeks, she opened up in fragments. She had left an abusive relationship, one that left her with both physical and emotional wounds. The darkness had become her shield, her way of feeling safe from judgment, from pity, from the memory of someone who had broken her spirit. Daniel listened. He didn't push her to heal faster than she was ready. He shared his own story. How losing his wife had almost broken him, how raising Emma alone felt impossible some days, but how light always found its way back through his daughter's laughter. And slowly, something shifted. One evening, as Emma ran around the small living room, giggling, Claire reached over, her fingers trembling, and whispered almost to herself. Maybe it's okay to turn on the lights. Daniel didn't touch the switch. Instead, Emma, with her innocent smile, ran and flipped it on before anyone could stop her. The room filled with brightness. Claire flinched at first, her scars visible now, not just the ones on her skin, but in her eyes. She waited for judgment, for pity. But neither came. Emma ran to her and hugged her tightly. "See, Miss Claire. The light makes everything prettier." Daniel looked at her and said softly, "You're stronger than you think. The darkness doesn't get to win anymore." For the first time in a long time, Claire didn't turn the lights back off. "If you've stayed with me until now, remember this, sometimes the people who seem the quietest, the ones who whisper not to look too closely, are the ones who need us most. Pain hides in